the mid-term rental, aka temporary housing niche within the umbrella of insurance. What does that mean? How long should we book a place for? How long should they book your place for? You, yes, you, will look at 1 month bookings differently after the next 30 seconds. My name is Ruben Kanya. I'm a temporary housing specialist who have helped multiple homeowners nationwide, hundreds, land premium contracts working with other businesses in the umbrella of insurance, including but not limited to. Now, there is this one thing in our industry that could be a complete oversight, and in this video, I want to show you why you should not overlook the one booking request. Now, here's why. Now, we specialize in a niche that is the mid-term rental, aka temporary housing niche within the umbrella of insurance. What does that mean? Does it mean we're working with the insurance companies and they're booking via our direct site or Airbnb? No, we're actually working with the relocation agencies who work with these insurance companies who are relocating displaced homeowners due to unforeseen events. And because those folks are displaced due to unforeseen events, there is no telling how long the unforeseen event will take to be actually fixed. It means they're dependent on contractors, they're dependent on other vendors involved, permits being pulled, etc., which means that the work typically takes longer than expected. It also makes it a huge challenge for the families and or the relocation agent that's looking to relocate the family, because let's keep in mind now there's two options. Either the relocation specialist is the one relocating the family, or the family themselves are looking for alternative options and then get reimbursed by the insurance company. The challenge is, how long should we book a place for? How long should they book your place for? And the sweet spot typically often is the 1 month time period. Now, the reason why there's almost gold underneath that 1 month is because we typically, on average, once relocating a family or a family stays with us, we on average get about 3 extensions, right? But with that extension comes something that is often overlooked by investors, and that is the fact that typically a relocation specialist will reach out to you and or the family will book for just a month, because it's the safe thing, right? Safe thing to do. They don't ever want to overshoot their budget, because there's nothing like booking something for 3 months and then saying, never mind, we actually only did a month and a half. We're going to have to readjust. A lot of hosts out there have already blocked out their calendars and are not going to accept that, right? And so for that reason, they typically go for one. But to an amateur, or to the untrained eye, I should say, it may look like, oh, should I even consider a month? And if you understand how the business model does, how the business model works, the answer is absolutely you should, because there's a chance that that month might turn into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months. And I speak from experience when I say that, not only for myself, but the many investors who we work with who are also implementing this B2B strategy, specifically with insurance, because work always takes longer than expected. Now, the reason that's important for you is it's important that if you, not all inquiries are created equal, right? I actually opened up my YouTube channel by saying not all midterm rentals are created equal, and this is the truth. Because if you have a B2C consumer, which is, if you're currently getting value from watching this video, you'll want to make sure you take a second and click below to grab the midterm rental insurance blueprint to help accelerate your process in being able to land these midterm rental insurance contracts with respect to your marketplace. Make sure you click the button below and grab it, and continue on with the gems in this video. Where I've gone in the other direction, and I go a lot with these companies who are working, aka relocation specialists or relocation agencies, I understand that just because they're inquiring for 1 month, that it might take 3. I understand that if you're inquiring for 3, it might take 6, and I understand that if you're inquiring for 6, that it might take 12. And it's, the math isn't always perfect. It's not times 2 or anything times 3, but I just know from experience and the experience I've had helping other homeowners, that is the case, and it's the best email you can receive. Now, the reason you need to be aware of this is when they are actually reaching on and inquiring, you might get a 1 month request. And they'll also have what we call a notice to extend. Now, it's typical for folks to go for 30 days notice to extend, etc., which sometimes will then, if they're booking for a month and they want a 30-day notice, it would mean that if they're moving in on the first day, they'd have to let you know that they're moving out. The truth is, it doesn't work like that. And you might even wait till the very last day, or sometimes, yes, what I would suggest is putting in a 15-day notice to vacate and or extend, because then it gives the relocation agency, the family that's actually being represented and booked and being serviced, it gives them the flexibility to know actually where they're going to land even within 2 weeks out. Because I've had notice to vacates and then I've quickly had them rescind, where there's literally an email that says rescind notice to vacate, actually we need a little longer. And if you don't know that, you might not plan accordingly, especially if you do what we do, which is we have hybrid calendars. What is a hybrid calendar and what does it mean and why is it important? A hybrid calendar means that while we are optimized for this temporary housing business of midterm rentals, aka temporary housing, because we like it, less turnovers, more profits, less headaches. We like that. We want more profits and want less headaches and less turnovers, and that's why we do this. However, we're still well trained and dangerous enough to still operate short-term rentals, aka Airbnb. So we'll still have our Airbnb listings active, ready to go, except we won't have instant book, and we still won't accept a booking if we know that there's a chance that they will extend. However, it is still open for business, and if you want to talk more about that, there's a video where I talk about duplicating your listings, etc. There's a whole strategy around it that I teach. However, what you need to be focused on is that just because you see an inquiry for 1 month doesn't mean it's going to be 1 month. And the reason I'm highlighting that is, I believe Wayne Dyer said this: if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And what I want you to do is start changing the way you look at 1 month bookings with the right context in place. If it is coming from a family, it could be disguised as one to be working for B2B. What does that mean, Ruben? It means that the family is actually the one that's actually looking for a place to book, and then will be reimbursed by a business, being the insurance company. Then understand that, and you can understand that by screening them. Hey, how long do you need, etc. They might say it themselves. They open up the conversation by saying, hey, we might need longer, depending on if work takes longer. Oh, if work takes longer, if I hear construction, if I hear those words, not only am I doing it to give them the flexibility and guidance, because remember, in hospitality, we understand, we want to cater to their needs, but in the case that they need more time, I also want to know that as a host, right, as an investor, as an operator. So I want to actually buffer out my calendar and give them the flexibility that they will need, because I am aware that that is something that they will need, and it is something that's hard to come by in this industry, when they might be booking on Airbnb and other hosts who are not privy to that, or accepting things literally the day after that they've booked, or the day after the time that they finished their booking. Meanwhile, in the past, we've been as flexible as waiting until the very last day of saying, hey, are you sure you don't need an extension? Sometimes things are stuck in approval with the adjuster, and we understand that, and they may get extended. We've had literally a family that just kept on extending like 4 times on Airbnb, and they waited till the last day every single time. Now, the money was good, and if we weren't privy to that, we would have said, oh, we would have accepted someone else, and then the alternative would have been, hey, by the way, actually, I can't accept your extension request because I've already accepted someone else. That is not going to be as consistent as income as the one we're making with them. So it's important that you understand that not all 1 month bookings are created equal. If it's coming from a consumer, then yeah, there's a chance that they know what they're actually booking for. But the question is the consumer coming from the need, or is dependent on a vendor like an insurance company, etc., that's paying on behalf of them, because that context matters. If it's B2B, if it's a relocation specialist, already we know that that's going to be a high probability that they might extend. Whatever period that they say is not the period that they're actually going to stay for. It's the period that they could actually book for. It's the period that they have actually been approved for. And the way the adjusters work in the space, there's always an insurance adjuster that approves the budget. He's approving it in chunks, and he's the one, or she's the one, in charge of being able to manage that budget accordingly. And they typically want to start small. They're not going to start big unless they know it's for sure going to take that long, which means that they've already received multiple quotes from the contractors on site, and so they're always going to be on the conservative side. They're never going to overshoot their budget, and so whatever you start with is just a baseline. It's a starting point, but certainly not an end point. So it's important that you understand and start to understand how to look at 1 month bookings differently. It depends who it's coming from. Is it coming from a consumer, or is it coming from a business? If it's a business, if relocation agency, a relocation specialist, you bet your eyeballs that it's going to extend, because it typically does on industry average. And if it is a consumer, and that consumer is disguised as a policy holder in need of temporary housing due to unforeseen events, and by the way, it doesn't just have to be a consumer disguised into a policy holder. It could even be someone who's there on assignment, someone who's there, aka traveling nurses have this again, but I would like to focus on the B2B side, right? Because of the one-to-many relationship, which is another topic. But understand that bottom line, at the end of the day, if your consumer is going to have the need to extend. With businesses, the types of businesses we work with who are temporary housing businesses, I know there's a high likelihood that they're going to extend. The question is, now that you've watched this video, do you? If you got value from this video, make sure you watch the video called What You Need to Know About Relocation Specialists.